I think they were interested in the topic. They did their homework, they researched the definitions. The group work, I thought, went very well. I felt the idea, the question about finding the support was very, very relevant because an essay examination is coming up on Sunday, so I wanted them to see and find the support in the text. It's like I tried to integrate reading with writing and some grammar when they had to write questions, so I felt this was good. I felt they were responsive, except for one difficult student here, who is usually like this. But otherwise, I felt the group work went well because all of them were working. They were all contributing to the task. And I thought they were on task all the time. They were actively involved in what they were doing. They were on task, and it's like, I felt it did go well. There was no time wasted.
So I would agree with all of those statements and then some. I thought they worked very well in groups also. Can you talk a little bit about your philosophy of organizing groups and having group work in the classroom?
We do a lot of group work. They enjoy doing group work very much, Leslie. And I believe that they can learn from each other. And I felt it happening today. They were learning from each other. They were helping each other. So I don't believe that the teacher is the only person they can learn from. No, if they're kept actively involved, working together, they can learn from each other. It happens all the time. So I like doing group work. They enjoy doing group work. Sometimes if I don't do it in one class, they ask for it. Miss, let's work in groups. Now it becomes a problem if I'm doing a test and I really want to kind of, look at individual performance. Then it becomes a problem and they say, why don't we do it in groups? Believe me, sometimes I decide that if they are going to learn from each other, okay, and I switch and I say, fine, then do it in groups. Sometimes I do that, on the spot. I make the decision, go ahead and do it in groups because I feel they will learn from each other. But today, I must admit, I felt one group was stronger than the others. And I think I told them I shouldn't have put Dina with Kareem. We agreed on these groups yesterday. I change. We don't have the same groups. No, we don't. Never. Sometimes they choose their own groups. So I choose 3 people and I say, now you choose your group, each of the 3. Sometimes I do it, sometimes they get into their own groups, and it's fine with me. But yesterday, I think to save time, I asked them, and I made the lists of the 4 groups. I thought it would save time, as soon as they come in, they know in which group they are and not waste time deciding who was with who. But I put Dina with Kareem, and they're the 2 best. I won't do it again.
You really are shining. I really liked the negotiation of meaning between themselves and also with you, and then you gave them a lot of opportunities for choice. Can you talk a little bit about some of the kinds of student choices that you give them? So they choose their groups.
They choose their groups. They choose reading articles that they can bring. But at the beginning of the lesson, I told them this time I had to choose the scientific article because the ones you chose were not so, they themselves weren't. I kind of felt they just chose the first article they found on the internet and that was it. But it's kind of, I even asked them. I showed them to them last week and I said, do you really want to read this? So, but they can choose the articles. They can choose when to do a test, when we're ready at the end of a theme or a unit. And we have all of that vocabulary. They choose when they want to do the test. What other choices can they make? Sometimes it's an optional assignment and they choose whether they want to do it or not. And believe me, when it's optional, they do it. And when it's an assignment for tomorrow, a few of them won't do it. We give a lot of homework, I must say, because we believe that exposure is extremely important. So it's in the morning for 5 hours and at least 3 hours in the afternoon. They're not very happy with this. So I give them choices. So it's like some assignments are optional. What else can they choose? The readings, not the grammar part. We have a grammar book. They can choose whether for the 12 o'clock class they want to do grammar or essay writing. We're supposed to do 1 hour of grammar and 1 hour of writing, but I feel it's much better to do 2 hours of essay, 2 hours of grammar the next day. So they can choose whether they're ready to write the essay tomorrow or the day after. This is okay. I do give them choices, yes. I can't think of more specific. I do it all along.
Great. Another strength of the class I noticed is they seem really aware of different strategies that are available to them as individual learners and as groups when they're reading and doing other things. Can you talk a little bit about how you got them there, how you got them to think about those strategies and make choices with those and use them?
From the beginning of the semester, I talked a lot about reading skills and strategies that good readers use. They come from schools where they were not encouraged to read enough, and they don't come with the reading skills they need in AUC. We are aware of this. They don't read enough, and they don't have the skills or the strategies. So I talked a lot about it at the beginning of the semester. If you notice, when I talked about making inferences, guessing meanings of words, I was going to go into finding the clue that helped them guess the meaning of a word, but we didn't have time. But I will go into this tomorrow. So it's like, I think that awareness and consciousness raising is extremely important, right? So I raise consciousness all of the time, and I say, what is a good strategy? But you know, when they suggested different strategies to complete the task, I accepted them all. Fine, wonderful. If it works with you, great. Except for the group, you know, he was joking when he said one person reads and the others wait. So yes, consciousness raising I think is extremely important. I talked to them about skills. This is why they said scan, skim. And then I remembered at the conference, someone talked about skimming and scanning and not being able to know the difference. Who was it? Was it Simon Greenall? Did you attend his talk? Yeah. And he said, I never could tell the difference between skimming and scanning, and it was funny. So they mentioned skimming, they mentioned scanning, they talked about making inferences, and I was glad that they know that these are good reading skills they're required to have.
Okay, good. Excellent. Another strength of the class is there's a lot of even in addition to the group work, there's a lot of peer teaching and peer assessment. Can you talk to us a little bit about your approach with that?
Yes, I believe in this. They can learn from each other, and they can assess each other, and they become aware of what is good and what is not good by seeing each other's work. We do it in the essay class. We do a lot of peer editing in the essay class. But they have a focus on content only. How good is the content, and how can this writer improve the content, or focus on proofreading, editing, because this is a skill that you need to edit and proofread. But they usually don't have time. They complain that there's no time to proofread the essay, which is why there are so many language mistakes. But when they read each other's essays, especially after the last exam, I said exchange essays and read them. This is why this essay got a 4 for content, or a 3 for language use, or a 4.5 for vocabulary. Read it. It's good to read your peers' work. They learn from each other, definitely.
Okay, good. If you were to teach the lesson again, is there anything you'd change?
Not really. Would you?
I thought the lesson was excellent. The preparation ahead of time, the pacing, the peer teaching, the group work, the kind of feedback you gave them. I thought you did a great job.
I just wouldn't put Dina and Karim in the same group, because the others didn't feel so good, you know, when this group got 26 or 27 and the others got 16.
No.
So it's kind of, I prefer that they all win. Or they're the same, you know. The definitions, they were fine and all of that, but it's kind of, I like it when they all win.
One of the challenges of working with groups is that there is this tendency for a couple of leaders to take over. But I noticed everyone in the class got a chance to speak or to lead the class. Could you talk about how you go about doing that?
I think it's very important. So it's like everybody has a role. Everybody has the chance to stand up and speak, to represent the group, to read out what they've written. And I think they enjoyed it. They were okay. So it's true they can choose in their group, but I wanted to make sure that everybody got the chance to stand up in front of the class and share their work. It's important, I think.
You chose a really hot topic, genetic engineering and discrimination. Can you...
Yeah, I'm not quite sure I understand the meaning of gene mapping. They had these complicated definitions, right? But I think I understand enough.
And it seems you're learning
Yeah.
from them.
By the way, the passage comes out of Reader's Choice. It's a text from Reader's Choice. So I wanted the topic of science. The students, I think, need to come in. We still have 3 minutes. Yeah. I wanted to read about science. They've had enough. The last unit we were doing was about education. The one before was about the environment. The one before was about the 20th century and beyond. So it's like they were mostly in the humanities, I think. And I felt that now we want to read about science, talk about science, and I think the change was interesting for them. We just finished the unit on education, and it's like education, education, enough.
Anytime you pick a topic like genetic engineering or theme, as you mentioned, you're teaching culture along with the language.
Yes.
How do you feel, and obviously this kind of topic has ethical kinds of ramifications
Yes.
too, so
Yes.
what is your approach to sort of dealing with these sort of...
Yeah, we are going to go on to talk more about it tomorrow. So I will check the assignment I gave them, and then we will definitely talk more about how each one feels about this genetic revolution, and if they are for knowing one's genetic history or against. As a matter of fact, the next activity was going to be about this, but I didn't have time, so I'm keeping it for tomorrow. So I prepared a pros and cons chart about knowing your genetic history, and individually they can fill out the chart and then get together into groups and kind of agree on whether they're for or against knowing your genetic history. But I agree with you, it is a cultural thing. It's interesting. But they do have opinions. This is also to prepare them for the essay we're going to start after the next exam, which is argumentation. So it's kind of, I want to make them aware of the fact that they need to know the list of pros and cons in order to be able to write an argumentative essay. So I'm linking it to writing. So we will do this activity tomorrow. We didn't have time today. It was good to be over-prepared.